Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good day. I wanted to do another mash video, and this one's going to be a little different. This is more of a kind of a traditional mash, but we're using newer style ingredients. I have some flaked corn. I have flaked rye. Or is that rye? No. Yes, flaked rye. Oh, I take that back. This is 6-row malted barley. And I have flaked rye. And I also have oatmeal. And what I'm going to do is, there's so many recipes and school of thoughts, excuse me, on how to do this. But I've always done 7 pounds of grain and 7 pounds of sugar. But I do use 8 just because my bag, my sugar that I buy has 8 pounds of sugar in it. I choose not to separate 1 pound. That's the cool thing about mashing. I know people that brew beer, they cringe at us because we are brewing when we're making moonshine, but not we're not any on the level of beer makers at all. And so beer makers, if you're interested in making moonshine, the brewing part is going to be way easy for you. And I'll show you the flaked corn. And what's happened is this corn has been smushed and rolled through hot rollers, and so it's already been gelatinized. So basically, it's been kind of crushed, and the starches are right there on the surface for us to get at to convert into sugar so we can ferment. And how we're going to do that is, instead of like last time we used powdered enzymes, this barley has the enzymes in it we need to do that naturally. And basically, the way that works is the seed itself has enzymes in it. And those enzymes, when they're ready, when the seed starts to grow, converts the starches in the seed to sugar to give the plant food. And it's not sugar like table sugar. It's dextroses and a bunch of other types of sugars that I don't remember what their names are and I can't pronounce, but you can take my word for it. If not, you can go research it and find out yourself. In this 6-row barley, it has a bunch of extra enzymes in it that will not only will it convert its own self into sugar, it has so much extra enzyme in it that it'll convert other grains when you mix it. So we're going to get our pot to 210 is what I'm going to go to. And then I'm going to cool it down to 152. And I'm going to just dump a pound or 4 pounds of the corn, right? 4 pounds of the corn, 1 pound of rye, 1 pound of barley, and 1 pound of oats. We're going to mix all the grains. And I've done corn and rye before, and I've done flaked corn and rye before. I've done cracked corn, cracked rye, and the flaked and flaked. But I've never done, and I've done barley before. I did a mash with barley. I've done that plenty of times, but I've never done it with oats. So this will be something new for me, and we'll give that a try. And kind of the same thing. These rolled oats. Excuse me. Same thing. These have been, the starches are available for us, versus if it was just a seed kernel, we would have to smash that in order to be able to get to it. And if it's just cracked, you have to do the boil like we did last time and gelatinize it. And that makes the starches, I guess, present themselves and makes them out there and available for us to get to convert. And let's see. I also kind of wanted to touch on what's going on with everyone in the Carona. Let's see. I've always said, and those of you that know me, that I'm not an auditor. I'm not a cop watcher. I'm an activist. If I have to have a label, and an activist takes many forms, and so excuse me. No, I don't have the got my big old cup of coffee. No, I don't have the croup. I just got up, and my vape addled lungs take a minute to get going. Okay, anyway, I think as an activist that we're trying to make a difference for the better in our communities. And that's very subjective, because your activism is personally yours and what you think would be better. So I've part of my activism is making my community better, right? And leading by example and showing how, like, I don't call the police, and I try not to be abusive to the police, even though I do throw their own games back at them. Like when I told the cops on one of my last videos that he smelled like alcohol, just to flip the script on him and do some of what they do to us. Anyway, I have volunteered. I've been working 12-hour days, and I volunteered on my day off to help. I volunteered with Meals on Wheels and the food banks, and I'm just waiting for one of them to get back on so I can go out and help bring stuff to the elderly people, because they are some of the most at risk, those and young people. And I can help them by help them doing their part by staying in the house and not overwhelming for one, not getting sick and dying. That's just a no-brainer. But also by helping them not overwhelm our system. Which, the other thing I'm not doing is I'm not buying into the panic. I'm not hoarding anything. I'm not going to do it. I am not going to be part of the problem. There's enough stuff out there for me to get by on at the grocery store just fine. I may have to pick around a little and find stuff, because panicky people are causing problems and buying all the shelves clean and just making a general mess of things. But I don't have to be a part of that. I can choose not to, and you can too. You don't have to be a part of that. And I think they're saying 12 weeks minimum before there will be a virus, an antivirus. So do you have enough money and food that you can lock yourself in for 12 weeks? Not go to work for 12 weeks, not have any contact with any other human for 12 weeks, other than who you are right now with that doesn't have the flu? I doubt it. I doubt 99% of you people out there hoarding have that. So you are part of the problem. You are making things worse. And this isn't the end all. This has a 4% mortality rate. And why? Because people get sick so fast that the hospitals are overwhelmed, and the people that are at risk aren't getting a treatment. and they die. And also, if you have any respiratory problems or anything, you're probably going to die if you get this. It sucks, but that's true. I'm not going to say how old I am, but I am just over the optimal limit. So I'm a little at risk. And it sucks, and it's a little bit scary, I would say, true, but we can't get out of here alive, people. We're all gonna die from something. Why are you acting like you should be special? I mean, this is a direct result of our inaction. We let the government ignore every pandemic that's happened before this, and there's been 2 other, maybe 3, that have came out of China in the same areas for the same reasons, and we have allowed all of that to continue, and we as Americans have allowed our government to not keep us prepared for the next one, and now we're here. And I hope we learn from this one. This one isn't the end all. This is just a little one, but the next one could be a lot worse. This one's going to, and what I really hate is how Trump is handling this. He's talking about the economy and stimulus. Why isn't he pumping that money into immediately beefing up hospitals, setting up emergency centers? I mean, it's great that they close things, these big venues, to slow down the spread, and that's what that is, people. That's not the end of the world. That's just slowing down the spread of this so we can deal with this as it comes up. And why aren't we like just throwing everything at turning maybe some of those places, school gyms and whatever, into triage centers to treat people when this thing really kind of gets out of control. If it gets out of control, why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we setting up some kind of filtration system for the air in those places? We don't have that, and we need that. Also, our internet. Everyone's getting off work and school, so our internet is slow. We need to address that. We need infrastructure. We don't have food security because people are panicking and buying all the food. We need to address that. There's so many things that could be addressed and we're pumping money into the economy. I mean, come on. What is wrong with these people? The economy will recover. We will bounce back. This isn't the end of the country or the world. This is a bad flu. But we could learn some lessons if we pay attention. I hope we do. Okay, that's my rant on Corona. And here's the, I call them my kids, my girlfriend and I, we call them our kids. Here's our kids. There's 2 rice, and that's 10 gallons. So it's a 6.5 gallon fermenter with the 7 pounds of grain in it. That equals 5 gallons. And there's our fermenters, happy buttering the yeast, or happy bubbling away, enjoying their yeasty life, and making us some tasty alcohol. And this one's going to be pretty darn good. So I've never used oats before, so I'm interested to see how that's going to make the whiskey taste. And I'm going to do the same with this after this mash. This first original mash ferments, I'm going to continue on with generations of that. Which that means instead of just throwing this grain away and starting over again with a new mash, I'm just going to put water and sugar on it and reuse the yeast that's in there. So I wish I would have showed you guys that. I guess you can take my word for it. It's true. I don't put any more yeast back in here. The yeast in there goes dormant. And when you, because it's polluted itself into with the alcohol that is created, and overpopulated so much that it can no longer sustain a viable, livable environment, it goes dormant. And then when I drain the wash out of there, and all that's left is the old grain, and there's some like brown, kind of foamy looking stuff, I guess is the best I could describe it. A layer deposit. That's all the dormant yeast, the yeast keg they call it. So I just have to add fresh water and sugar, and those yeast become alive again. And they've also mutated. So they're used to now that they've come about already, they've mutated into what I believe is a higher alcohol content environment. And these yeast will ferment my last mash fermented right down to zero, just maybe a point below zero. These will ferment several points below zero. So the yeast kind of adapt to what they're used to, and they'll just keep doing it. And so each generation of mash changes a little bit the characteristics of the whiskey, which is neat. And I'm not trying to make the same flavor, same exact recipe bottle of whiskey every time. I want it to be a little different. I want to try experiment and try things different and see how it turns out. I don't care if it's the exact same. So the yeast, they become a little different each time. The grain, because of the way it's fermenting and getting older, the characteristics of that, the flavors that come out are a little different each time, each generation. So that's a pretty cool thing. Well, I thought I would turn this off. Well, I guess I'm going to get up to 210. I'm going to add my corn and stir it all up. And I bought it's all wet, I washed it. A great big old stainless steel spoon to stir it with. Then I'm going to turn the oven on 152 after I've cooled this to 152 and stirred in my barley. Then I'm going to toss the whole thing in the oven and let it sit in there for an hour and let all those enzymes do their work and convert all the grains into, all the starches into sugars. And we are just about to 210. I'm going to shut up for a minute, drink some coffee, and be back when I stir the grain in. Okay, I have reached 210, which is a soft boil, and I turned the temperature off. Now we're going to dump in our ingredients. Just going to try to guess. There goes some corn. Two. That's probably 3. Take a look and see what we think. Is that about half of our amount? Pretty close. Maybe just a little bit more will be half of that. Let's call that half. There's our corn, and set you down for a minute and we'll put in the rye. There is about a pound of rye, and I had my oats ready, and I wouldn't have to have you sit down. And there is a pound of oats almost. Have to stir that in there. We are going to have a super full pot, but that's okay. And all we're doing is hydrating this stuff, which it'll hydrate pretty easily. You want to stir out, get rid of any lumps like that, because see, it's got dry stuff in there, and we want everything nice and hydrated. Let's add the rest of our oats. Shoot. There's the rest of our oats added. Get it all stirred up and mixed up. Get those clumps of corn all broken up. I could have added it in super slowly and stirred it as I went. And then I wouldn't have had the clumps, but that's okay. The stirring cools it down. Okay, while we're thinking about it, let's set our oven. Oh shoot, didn't know that. That's the drawbacks of modern technology. This oven doesn't go to 150. But what we will do is we will let it get up to 170, and then we will use the thermometer and find out when we get to 150, and we'll just turn it off. Throw it in there, keep the door closed, and it'll do our thing. We have a temperature range for the barleys to do its thing, for the enzymes in the barleys. And I don't think I said it when I was talking to y'all and telling you what I was doing a little earlier, that the malted barley, malted just means it was sprouted. So let me show you. The barley was, let's tune in on that. The barley was sprouted. That's what those little white lines in there are. And then the sprout, it was starting to grow, and then it was halted. And there was actually a little piece of a sprout sticking out of there, and they get rid of that. That doesn't make your stuff taste good. It puts kind of a bitter, so I've been told. I've never malted anything myself. I know you can malt popcorn to mash your own stuff. Maybe we should make a video with that and see how that works out. That would be kind of a fun experiment. And so anyway, I have to stir this, get rid of all the lumps, and we'll do that. And That'll, by doing that, I'm helping it cool as well, down to the right temperature that we need, which is 152. So with that, I'm going to take care of that, and I'll come back when I add the barley in. Okay, we're down to like 91, 92 degrees. I'm being impatient. So we have 5, 6, 7, 8% alcohol by volume, or a gravity of 1.060. So that's a pretty good conversion. 8% by volume. We won't have to add a whole ton of sugar to bump that up to see. I'm kind of just guessing our foam is a little above that, so I think it's below the foam where it's reading is right at 8%. So that's a good conversion. We turned starches into 8%. So that's, if we just went with that, we would have not quite half a gallon of alcohol out of this if we fermented this just like it is now. And I'm going to bump it up to around 12, 13 maybe. I don't know. I'll just add some sugar and get what I get. So then our reading will be 10, 11, 12. It'll be somewhere in here for a gravity of right at 1.1 or 1.10, just a little below that. Anyway, I'll be back in a minute. Let's do something a little different this time. Let's take our yeast, and I like to do a big heaping tablespoon. That's not really heaping, so we'll add just a little more. We will hydrate our yeast before we dump it in this time. So we'll stir that all up, and we will let that get the yeast going. The water temperature is 80 degrees. And I will be back in a while when everything is all ready to pitch yeast. Okay, we're back right before we get it all sealed up. Let's see, let's see, that middle mark is 75, that's 100. We are at like 90 something, right at 90, I think. So first we will pitch in a little yeast nutrient, which is urea and diammonium phosphate. We'll put in about a tablespoon of that, and we will stir that all up. Get rid of the thermometer. And remember, we hydrated our yeast a while back. It's you can see it's foaming up and growing well. I should have showed you before I started it. It builds a pretty big head on it, full of foam, but it's all working well. So let's pitch the yeast. Do a little bit of a rinse there. Okay, we are all ready. Oh, I forgot. I should have showed you. I did a reading, and we are like just a little over 12% ABV with the sugar that I added. And I'll be back in just a few, and probably I'll keep track of how long it takes before it starts bubbling when I put the lid on and install the bubbler. And I'll see you then. Bye. Okay, we're back, and it's been about an hour and a half since I put the lid on this thing, and it's just about ready to start bubbling. So the fermentation has officially started. I bought a new still. I ordered it, and because of all the stuff, they said it might take an extra week to get it to me, but it'll be here before this is done fermenting. And that'll be fun. It'll be a nice video we can make, and as I figure out how to use the reflux still. I've been around them. Yep, there's the first bubble escaping. I've been around them a few times, and I've seen them work. I understand the theory, but I've never actually operated one myself. So it'll be a neat learning experience and something fun to master. And I guess that's it for this video. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Would love to hear your comments below. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And bye everyone. Lots of love.